Good afternoon, everyone. So we've talked about Singapore. We've gone into the depths of stablecoins, and now we are going to the other side of Asia with Natela Turnava, the governor of the National Bank of Georgia, and we're going to Natia to give us some background. So, firstly, has a long career in public sector as Minister of Economy and Sustainability, and recently joined as the governor of the National Bank of Georgia, amongst various roles in the private sector as well in between. So, I think my very first question is why Singapore FinTech Festival? It's not close, it's a long trip, and you came for 48 hours.
So, first of all, I would like to say that it's my pleasure to be here today. Good afternoon, everyone. And why we came from Georgia to Singapore. First of all, I would like to say that we Georgians, we are very ambitious people. We have ambition to establish ourselves as a new FinTech hub in a middle corridor. And I think that explains everything, because Singapore plays a very important, very attractive role model for us. We see many similarities, and let me elaborate a little bit. Before, I would like to say that Singapore managed to make a miracle. Singapore was known as a small country, well-placed, by serving as a logistic hub, container shipment, massive flows of containers, other type of cargo going from Asia to the rest of the world and vice versa. And during last decade, Singapore managed to convert its very important role of serving as a logistic hub in the region to the new, more advanced role of serving as a FinTech hub, becoming a FinTech center for the entire Asia and attracting the worldwide investors here. And we want to repeat that. You may say that we are like dreaming, but as a regulator, as a policymaker, with a long experience in management, you know that I was a Minister of Economy before, so it's not just about finance, it's about economy, about our economic conception and value proposition. I'm fully confident that we have all necessary preconditions in place, and we just need to learn from the best examples. That's why we're here.
Fantastic. So let's take a step back, right? So you came on in June 23. That's not so long ago, and you came across a time where there is, I think global regulators have had a tough time in the last, I would say 18 to 24 months. We have seen macroeconomic turmoil. We have seen a reversing of a macro quantitative easing shift. But you have come across at a time where you have seen a regional war. You have seen influx of capital. You have seen so much regional and domestic turmoil as well as global. And so just talk a bit about how you've navigated that as the incoming governor. What have you done? How have you stabilized Georgia? And I think it'll be interesting to kind of just get into that a little bit.
Yeah, as I already mentioned, and you also mentioned during my introduction, I was dealing with policy making in economy by being ex-Minister of Economy. And that's why it was probably my advantage on this position when I became acting governor of Central Bank of Georgia. I would like to say that due to the massive reforms agenda and also, I think, quite efficient policy decisions, due to many, let's say, external and internal reasons, we managed to stay resilient over those shocks, although it was not easy it was a global shocks. There were two consecutive overlapping shocks. But despite that, Georgian economy has proven to be resilient. We had 2 consecutive years of 2-digit growth. And even this year, economic growth numbers are quite strong. We do anticipate more than 6% of growth in GDP and next year also would be like around 5% of growth, which is one of the highest indicator in the region. And at the same time, due to the timely response, due to the flexible and less bureaucratic decision-making process in our government and in a regulator, we managed to curb inflation early, and we have quite low inflation. It's last figures are 0.9, 0.7, like monthly inflation.
Quite the difference from the rest of the world.
Yes, it's of course, and it's much below our target level of 3%. On top of that, I would like to say that our financial sector also has proven to be resilient. It's fully recovered. Our banks are quite strong. It was a year of high profits for the banks. The market capitalization, and we have two very strong listed banks listed at the London Stock Exchange. They're like quite attractive and shows upward trend. In general, this is a part of our like stable macroeconomic environment, and this is a part of our value proposition when we are trying to offer, we want to offer our platform for the future fintech investors. Georgia is a safe country with despite difficult surrounding. Sometimes we're saying that we are at unique geopolitical location. We are benefiting a lot in the peaceful times, but now it's a difficult surrounding, and we're facing a lot of challenges, including military actions, war in Ukraine, escalation in Middle East. Everything happens around us because we are serving as a corridor, and it has an impact. And we are, of course, vulnerable because we are a small country with open economy. So that's why it's not easy to navigate. But as I already mentioned, and it is reflected in our figures, indicators of economic growth, of stability, we are offering to investors stable economic environment and transparent, very flexible, business-friendly regulations. We are the country which is, I already mentioned, we are very small.
Yeah.
There is one similarity with Singapore, that we already established ourselves on this corridor, on this road, as a reliable, attractive road for cargo, as a cargo hub, as a transportation hub. And now it's a time for us to capitalize on that and probably to move to the next level and to build on that the notion of being fintech hub in the middle corridor, as we have these preconditions in place. Yeah. And the most important one I would like to say, I would like to mention, this is our choice of open policy-driven approach. We use this open policy-driven approach in many ways, in many fields, because we're a small country and we need to expand our boundaries artificially. That's why we have numerous free trade agreements with 2/3 of the world. We are the only country in the region which has simultaneously free trade agreement with China and free trade agreement with European Union. 1 week ago, we have been granted by European Commission positive recommendation on becoming candidate of EU in future. Thank you. It was a great achievement for us. Thanks a lot. But at the same time, investors and money is here in Asia, fintech investors. And our good connections with Europe, our willingness to approximate our regulations toward European rules to make them more familiar for global investors, and our strong historical ties with China, with Asia. This is a unique value proposition. We don't forget that we are part of the historical Silk Road.
That's right.
From ancient times.
So let's unpack that a little bit. So there's two things I want to just dig into a little bit more, right? So the first thing you mentioned was, it is very stable. So as this oasis, there are naturally, but it's a small country, and there are naturally, I guess, structural challenges when, and I think Singapore faced similar things, like the domestic market is, they want to maintain, to a certain extent, strong banks because it stabilizes the economy. But at the same time, fintechs don't necessarily look at it for the domestic play in the market. I guess, what do you see as the biggest opportunity for Georgia, let's say, for fintechs coming in there, and how do you envisage the regulatory landscape changing across the region and harmonizing to allow startups in Georgia to perhaps expand out?
First of all, we are not unique in supporting and building very strong financial industry of banks, conventional banking system. And our banks are, I would say, very strong, very resilient, very healthy asset-wise. And at the same time, they are serving as a leaders in terms of innovation. They are not overburdened by legacy of old systems. They had an capacity and chance to build the systems from the scratch, and that's why they are well equipped with the modern, innovative technologies. They are first movers in many sense, but at the same time, they are big, they are banks, they are risk averse, they are strongly regulated by us also, and the market is small, and that's why we see the challenge, we face with the challenge of high degree of concentration on the market. Our leading banks are too big for our country. In order to grow, now they are looking for other destinations. They already went beyond Georgia and starting to establish themselves in the region. Where is the solution for us? How can we grow in terms of financial services? And of course, this is a well-known solution to become attractive for other non-conventional financial services, for fintech companies. We see them as a good, healthy disruptors.
Right.
And of course, collaborators with the banking system, because it might be win-win collaboration between them, while fintechs would like to establish themselves and to build the trust by being closer to the traditional banks. Banks also would like to offer to their clients more modern products. And it might be also very interesting collaboration between them, but not necessary. We welcome any kind of competition.
That's really good. And I think that, you've talked a bit about Singapore, and I think Singapore's story is very interesting. And I think we're seeing the same thing. I don't think we've seen an emergence of a Eurasian hub similar on the Middle Corridor. So just a little bit about the attracting capital. We do look at the depth of capital, and it took Singapore time. And then I know Georgia's done a bit of a few initiatives on increasing depth of capital with 500 startups. I think you did a really interesting project. And how do you see that playing out? Are you seeing good traction? Are you seeing that evolving over the next few years and with the support of NBG?
We have a well-elaborated strategy, and we think that we should build on the momentum and we should not lose any time. So that's why the next 5 years will be critical for us. And we are, you know our market. We are talking not just about the plans, but we are talking regarding ongoing process. As I already mentioned, we choose the National Bank of Georgia, open policy-driven approach, and for us it means being flexible, being responsive to the needs of industry. In this term, we are offering numerous interesting solutions to the potential fintechs, to the investors in the fintech industry. First of all, we offer single window principle, which is not always the case in other countries alongside the corridor. It means that we are the only sole public entity which serves all kind and issues all kind of permissions and license related to the financial services, and we are the only supervisor. We can regulate that. Open policy means open dialogue. And of course, it's a bit challenging for us because in this particular case, we are not acting as a traditional regulator. We are acting as a developer, but this is the only chance to build an infrastructure, especially a regional infrastructure for fintechs. Another thing that we are offering, this is a wide range of different licenses, considering that fintechs nowadays has very different and wide range of business models. Right. Starting from new license that we call platform, which enables fintechs to have a better access to all kind of digital data that we have a lot because we are well developed, the public sector in terms of digitalization, revenue service, credit info, other kind of data, banking sector data, remittances, which also represent interesting financial market for us. All this digital data will be available to the fintechs, and they will be able to build on that. Another kind of license is a digital bank license. We are familiar with that, with a quite low entry barriers, just around, not sure about the exchange rate, but 2.5 million USD initial capital requirement. FinTechs with the innovative concept could obtain the license of digital bank with the ability to become then a full-fledged bank after 3 or 4 years, and could serve flows of capital inside and outside Georgia. And we have 2 acting banks, digital banks in place, and it's a novelty because we introduced this license just 2 years ago, and the third upcoming license. We do hope to have at least 3 banks, digital banks, till the end of this year. Also, another field, virtual asset service providers, very topical these days for those market participants who are working with digital currencies. We introduced new, very much in-demand license. It's a simple registration for VASPs, virtual asset service providers, which includes a concept of AML and CFT supervision, which is very important for VASPs, for those market players who want to be trustee partner for the banks, because this is an important precondition for that.
Right. So I was really lowering the barriers and allowing a lot of players to come in, and I think that plays a huge role. So just again, let's shifting again, one more time, and I think that you can probably count the female governors, national central bank governors, on one hand, and obviously I know that you have a majority female board as well on your national central bank. I think it's quite an achievement, but I want to just take a step back and say, if you look at your vision, let's say 5 years from now, right? If you can do carte blanche with whatever policy you want, what is the impact that Georgia, what are the results that you wish that Georgia has in 5 years' time? Just kind of really hearing your vision for the country and for NBG.
It will not be correct from my side because I'm a regulator, first of all, just to have some quantitative, let's say, assumptions. But I would like to see Georgia more advanced in terms of becoming a middle corridor fintech hub. We are building physical infrastructure through Georgia. We are already a hub for logistics through our ports. We are serving flows of energy, important pipeline projects, Black Sea submarine, power cable, telecom industry is there also. I think that we have all physical infrastructural projects in place in order to become a good basis for further financial services that could be built on them. We have quite flexible and friendly regulation already, and we are flexible again. We are ready to adjust, to fine-tune it towards needs of the industry. I would like to see more investors on the market because we still have a quite shallow capital market in these terms, and that's why we're here, by the way, because we have a good platform for startups. We have a good programs for startups. Government is also running a number of programs of co-financing, providing some seed capital for small startups as well. Also, co-financing acceleration process. We are flexible and open in open dialogue. We are building infrastructure, regional infrastructure for startups like open banking, which is already in place, and now we are speaking about switching to the open finance approach. We started CBDC project as well. Still on the very initial stage, but we are glad to announce that we invited well-known Ripple company who helped us with the piloting stage. Also, we will be advanced in this respect, and this is another contribution to the global environment of fintechs in Georgia, and that's why I'm mentioning that. Technical sandbox project, which is under implementation with the support of IFC World Bank Group.
Yeah.
So there will be more fintech infrastructure in place.
We've got lots to look forward to.
Yes, I think so. And as for the female representation, yes, what I see from today's event, it's a quite male-driven industry. And I'm not sure that it's good for future of fintechs. That's why we need somehow to change, to disrupt
You're setting the beacon at NBG. Well, thank you very much. I said Natela Turnava, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone for listening to a regulatory talk on 4 p.m. at Friday. Thank you very much, guys.